Hey guys, today we're checking out the Fotis Bernardo Drums from Stigmatized Productions. Let's check it out. So as you can hear, it sounds very huge and modern. If I had to pick another drum library that this sounds similar to, it kind of reminds me of Perfect Drums by Naughty Seal Audio. It's got a very modern, punchy sound, and this is kind of in that same vein. So let me walk you through the kit pieces. First off, the snare drum. Huge explosive sound, big room sound as well. And down here at the bottom, we have the drum loader. So here we have a 5.5 by 14 Pearl Masters. And we also have the accompanying raw version as well. So I can kind of swap out in between the two, just like that. So there's a lot more attack on that processed one. And if we keep scrolling through to the right, we can see we got a Mapex. Huge sound on that as well. Got a Tama Star Classic. And also a Mapex Saturn. So the one thing I really like about these snare drums is that I can kind of flip through them and it doesn't completely destroy my snare mix and balance. Oftentimes with drum programs, you kind of swap the snare and then all of a sudden your mix falls apart. But these are similar enough to each other that you can just kind of flip through them and there's no issues. All right, let's check out the kick drum. We got a Pearl reference and a Mapex Saturn. And we also have the accompanying raw versions as well. So let's hear the Pearl. Awesome, let's check out the toms. So the toms, we just have the one set, but we also have that included raw version as well. And these are tuned very well. They cut through the mix really nicely. Let's talk about cymbals now. So cymbals are kind of like the make or break part with the drum program. Oftentimes they can sound way too processed and like they'll have a very short decay, like everything kind of sounds like a stack. And other times you get like super real sounding cymbals, but they're very dull and you have to kind of brighten them up a whole bunch. And there's a very good in between on this kit. Like it's kind of a good balance of the two. Let's go over the hi-hat. So we got three options here. My favorite is the Zildjian K Custom Dark. But I'll try out the Pasty now. And then the Sabian. So they all sound, again, close enough where you can kind of swap them and it's not going to destroy your whole mix. Awesome. For crashes, I'm rocking the Ks as well. Very nice, not too harsh sound, but still bright. And then over here on the right crash, I'm using the Sabian 19-inch Extreme. Really nice sound of that one as well. For splashes, for splash options, we have the Zildjian 12-inch K Custom and the 8-inch K Custom. I ended up going with the 12-inch. I thought it sounded a bit smoother. And then for ride, again, we're rocking the Ks because you can't beat those. But I'll just kind of flip through the other ones here. Some really nice sounds there for blast beats. We also have an Ozone crash too, which is really fun to play around with. An 18-inch one and a 20-inch one. And the China is also really nice in this library. Got two options there, the AAX Extreme and the Oriental. So yeah, that kind of covers the kit page here. If we move over to the mixer, we got a whole bunch of options here. You can see kick, snare, hi-hat, toms, all that stuff kind of laid out nice and neat. Panning control right here, so I can choose to pan anything I want. And we also have, for each channel, basically like a little convolution reverb engine down here. So that's super useful. That can kind of get you that mix-ready sound. Then over here in the settings page, we have an overall velocity editor, so I can kind of change the curve depending on how my MIDI's programmed. And then down here in the left corner, we have a groove tab where I can kind of pick through maybe some metal grooves, power hand, hi-hat open, just double click and then hit the play button. Also super useful down here, we have speed options, so I can speed it up if I want to. Just like insanely quick. And then a half speed option as well. So if you're playing AC/DC songs, that's what you'd want to go for. I'm now going to demonstrate what they sound like out of the box. This is a very important thing to me as well, is how fast you can get a mix going. So what I'm going to do is just load up a instance of that. So I'm going to load up a contact, load up my Fotis Bernardo Drums. Awesome, so here's my GUI again. The only thing I have to do is just load up my MIDI map. So we have a whole list of options to choose from. I'm just gonna choose mine. Now that that's loaded up, we can go back to the kit page. And then if I just hit play on this, this is the full out of the box. I haven't even changed the preset. Let's hear how this sounds. There you go, that's no work involved. Let's just load the plugin up and that's how it sounds. Sounds amazing. Let's try swapping a preset. Now let's try Loud and Proud. And now if I A/B that with my mixed version, you're gonna hear the difference. It's honestly not too far apart. So I mostly just did some leveling, bit of EQ and transient designing on the kick, same thing on the snare, nothing on the toms at all. Thought those sounded great the way they were. And then on the overheads, just doing a bit of soothe and some EQ, adding some top end, soothing out the cymbals a little bit. And over here on the room track, pretty much doing the same thing, except I'm really compressing the hell out of it with a CLA 76. So that really dirties up the sound and kind of adds a bit of distortion. And we also have this bleed track, which is also basically like another kind of overhead, at least that's what it sounds like. I'm kind of treating that like an overhead track. I'm dipping out some of the harsh stuff and boosting the really high stuff. And then also throwing some soothe on it to tame it. And we also have a compression track, which I turned off because I felt like I didn't really need it in this case, but I'll show you how that sounds. So this is essentially the built-in like parallel compression channel. So it's really heavily compressed and you can kind of blend that into taste with the overall drum mix. And that basically sums up the basic mix. I also have another thing going on here, this snare room trigger. So another really cool reason to pick up this library, it comes with the TCI files for Slate trigger. So I can basically, emphasize certain kit pieces I want just by loading them up in trigger. So what I did is I basically wanted to isolate the snare room track to really bring it up. So I put in the overhead channel and the room channel as well for the snare. And I'm compressing that a whole bunch with the CLA again. So as you can see there, I'm doing like 20 dB. And if I get rid of these room sounds, you'll hear what it does to the snare. It's gonna sound a lot smaller. And then with that added room, makes it sound huge and explosive. And I'm sending both the snare room track and the close mic to this snare reverb. And I'm just using Slate's lustrous plates for that. And that really adds even more depth and width to it. And I have nothing on my drum bus, so I was just kind of going through raw. And with that, we get our full drum mix. If you're looking to grab these drum samples, I have an affiliate link down below, which is going to help us out a little bit. This is honestly one of the best drum libraries I've ever used. It's super mix ready, very punchy. Let's hear it in the mix one more time.